my name is Megan Callahan and I am one of your Hy-Vee registered dietitians here to walk you through some healthy holiday recipes. So today we're going to do two options. We're going to do your entree, which is going to be a cranberry rosemary chicken, and then we're going to follow that up with a balsamic roasted Brussels sprout that is going to be just delicious. Both of these are going to give you those fun flavors that just make you think of the holidays and that what your family is going to be craving while still sticking to your health goals. So first we're going to start with our entree today, which is that rosemary cranberry chicken. So for this recipe today, you're going to need some oranges. You're going to need about a pound of chicken breast. You're going to need salt, pepper, and paprika. We have some minced garlic, some cranberries, a brown sugar or a brown sugar alternative, which we'll talk about those a little bit later. We have an onion, some celery, some fresh rosemary, some avocado oil. You've got some chicken stock, and then some white wine vinegar is what we're going to need for this recipe today. So first and foremost, we want to get our cranberries ready to go. So I'm going to take a smaller size bowl. Did make it a little bit larger just so we made sure that when we are mixing it, we didn't get over the edges. But we're going to start first with a tablespoon of your white wine vinegar. So I'm going to get kind of the, I guess, liquid ingredients ready to go first for this, because I feel if you can get that nice and mixed and ready to go, it'll coat the cranberries a little bit better. So 1 tablespoon of that white wine vinegar is all you're gonna need of that. And then we're gonna move to our brown sugar. So today the brown sugar I'm gonna use is Swerve. So this comes in brown sugar, powdered sugar, as well as just a regular sugar alternative as well. So this is perfect for this time of year when you're doing a lot more baking and using a lot more sweet type options. This is going to be a 1-to-1 ratio in terms of replacing your regular sugar. It's going to have 0 calories and 0 grams of sugar. So it's an awesome option if you're really trying to watch your health, especially for those that have diabetes and trying to watch those blood sugar levels. This is going to be a great option for you. I think at our store we actually have that both in the health market section and in the regular aisles. So you can see it in a couple different places. So we're going to do 1/3 a cup of that. So 1/3 a cup of a brown sugar or a brown sugar alternative. And then I'm going to try to mix this up a little bit just with a spoon. So it's going to be more of like a sugary coating is what we've got going on here. And you know, I might even, let me give it a little bit more time. I think I might add just a tiny bit of water into this too. Yeah, let's do just a tiny bit of water. So I'm just going to add just a little bit. That was maybe like a tablespoon of water at most. Just really trying to get that consistency that I want to mix in with these cranberries. Making sure that we're patting down any of those, you know, the balls where the granulars get stuck together. All right, this is exactly what I'm looking for. So I used a tablespoon of the white wine vinegar and a tablespoon of water. Next, we're gonna do 2 cups of fresh cranberries. So fresh cranberries are going to be a little bit different than what you're used to in terms of those dry cranberries that we'll have in salads. They're going to have a little bit more of a tart flavor, and that is why we added in that brown sugar, because we do want it to have a little bit more of a sweetened flavor. So our dried cranberries are always going to have added sugar to them. It's very hard. I don't know if I've ever seen any dried cranberries that don't have sugar added to them. So, but again, with the alternative that we used from our health market, we have no sugar grams in this. So no 0 grams of sugar from the sweetener. Of course, there is some sugar in the fruit naturally. So, all right. We are going to let that set to the side. You know, another thing about cranberries that I forgot to mention is they obviously are very well known for preventing UTIs. but they can also help with ulcers and some other things too. So a lot of health benefits when it comes to our fresh cranberries. I'm gonna set this to the side just to kind of clean up my mess here a little bit. And we're gonna start prepping our chicken breast. So one thing that you wanna make sure that you're keeping in mind when you're doing a raw meat is to have a separate cutting board for that meat. So we got a separate cutting board, separate knife, which I didn't grab, so I'm gonna grab that right now, so that we're making sure we're being safe with our food. So today I got a pound of our chicken breast. We have the Hy-Vee True chicken breast. So this True brand comes in beef, it comes in pork, chicken, and then also comes in lunch meats. So basically this True brand has more of a true flavor because it holds on to less water in that process of being brought to the shelf. So it's gonna have more of a true taste. It also has no antibiotics, no hormones, and no steroids when it's being processed. So just an overall healthier option for you. So for this, we have 2 chicken breasts here. They're quite a bit different in terms of size, but we're gonna cut these in half. So I'm gonna cut them in half lengthwise, so the thickness is the same for each chicken breast. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm trying to get that proper portion control. I would like for my portions to be closer to that 3 to 4 ounces per portion, which is going to be what we're supposed to be following. So that 3 to 4 ounces of meat is going to basically help us in terms of getting the right food groups on our plate, because at the end of the day, we're supposed to have half of our plate be fruits and vegetables. A lot of times, for most, half of our plate is what? The protein, right? Or the starch. So really trying to help with that portion control. Okay, I've got these halved. Next, you're gonna pat them down just to get off any extra moisture that is on the breast. So I'm just gonna take a paper towel, kind of pat that down, help with that. Another thing that I love about the True products is they have less fat. They trim them a lot better, I feel like, than your regular chicken breast. Okay, gonna throw that away. All right, next what we're gonna do is we are going to put minced garlic all over the chicken breast. So it calls for about a tablespoon per breast. I'm just gonna put this on the front and the back of the chicken breast. I might not use 4 tablespoons. I like garlic, but that seems like quite a bit to me. So I'm just gonna eyeball it over what I would kind of like there. I might suggest just starting with about 2 tablespoons, cooking it for the first time, seeing how you feel. If you like a lot of garlic, go for it. Go for the 4 tablespoons, that could hurt you. But just to make sure the whole family likes it. So if you're doing fresh garlic, something to keep in mind is fresh garlic is going to be about 1 clove is about a teaspoon to a teaspoon and a half. So when you're talking tablespoons, there's 3 teaspoons and 1 tablespoon. So it's quite a bit. But anyways, really great option. Fantastic health benefits in the fact that it has helps with improving your cholesterol panel, lowering blood pressure, and then it can also help with the common cold. So next we're gonna go ahead and jump into the seasoning part of this. So I'm gonna set my chicken breast to the side because we have to get our rosemary ready. So if you've never cooked with fresh rosemary before, it comes in sprigs looking like this. So basically all you do is you take one of the little branches off, and you're just gonna take that fresh rosemary right off of the stem, and if you pull backwards, it just kind of comes off. It is a little harder to get the top ones off because you don't have that to go against, but fresh herbs are a great option to cook with because they're just going to give you so much really robust flavor that you just don't get as much of from the dry herbs. But we're gonna need about a tablespoon and a half of this, so I'm gonna go just a little bit more. Rosemary is also really good to just make your dishes look pretty when you're going to actually plate the dish. So I think that that looks great. So I'm just gonna take my other knife here. I'm just gonna chop this. It's not gonna be real fine or anything like that. I'm just gonna chop it a little bit so it's not the great big pieces, leaves. And I'm gonna mix this with 2 teaspoons of paprika, which we love paprika at our house. We use it on a lot. And then also it's got a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a 1/2 teaspoon of fresh ground pepper. I'm just mixing this up real well. Now, if you don't want to use salt, you're trying to watch your blood pressure, you could definitely use a salt substitute. Make sure you always check with your pharmacist or your physician to make sure that that's appropriate based off of your medications that you're taking. I'm just gonna put this over each one of these chicken breasts. Excuse me. On the front and the back, just like I did the garlic. And these are going to be flavored and ready to go. All right, I'm going to set this to the side. Clean off my fingers here a little bit. And we are going to start on the rest of what we're actually going to let set and marinate. So one of the things we're going to want to do is we're going to want to have onion. We're going to have celery in this. We're going to have some avocado oil, and then we're also going to have orange zest. So first I'm going to put in, that white wine vinegar again. Almost forgot. So first I'm going to put the liquid in. So I'm going to get a really large bowl because it's going to be a lot because the chicken's going to go in there too. And I have 1 fresh orange, which we know is great with vitamin C. That I'm going to squeeze all of the slices from 1 fresh orange into this bowl. And do keep the rind part that you would normally discard because we're actually going to put that in here too for the marinade. So just squeezing that fresh juice in here. You could also use a lemon if you wanted to have a different flavor. But we were feeling some orange today. And boy, is this making my kitchen smell so good. Okay, got that. Next we're going to do 2 tablespoons of that white wine vinegar again. So just getting that white wine vinegar out. We're gonna do 2 tablespoons. All right, got that done. And then the third but not least for the liquid is going to be 1/3 cup of avocado oil. So if you're not familiar with avocado oil, it's just got a higher smoke point. So the avocado oil is going to be a better option when you are cooking at a very high heat, which we're going to be doing at 425 today. So, all right, we've got this nice and mixed up. I'm going to put my orange grinds in here, so those are in there. I'm going to now set this bowl to the side so I can cut up my celery and onion. First, I'm just going to I'm taking 3 stalks of celery, so not a ton, just enough to give it that nice crunch. Just pour off the ends there. Notice I am using my other cutting board that hasn't had the chicken on it, as well as my other knife. So, all right, and then I'm just gonna put this just like you would in like a soup or stuffing. Speaking of the holidays, all those good foods that you think of. Just gonna dice this up. All right. And I'm gonna throw that in there. Next, we're gonna do an onion. So onions are really great because they actually have phytochemicals in them that mix with vitamin C to help improve immunity. So it helps it work properly, the vitamin C. I'm just gonna dice up 1 full, this is a yellow onion, so believe it or not, there is a difference between the onions and what you're supposed to be using it for. Yellow onions are gonna be more versatile, so they're gonna be good for a lot of dishes. Where white onions are gonna have like more of a pungent taste. You wanna use those when you really wanna taste that onion, so think like a stir fry, like a salsa, that would be another really good option for a white onion. Purple onions are usually served raw. And then those sweet onions, those are gonna be better for like frying foods. So just gonna cut this up. Now, a trick that you can use that I didn't use today is if you cut and peel, or I say that wrong, peel, like cut off the ends and then peel your onion first, throw it in the freezer for about 30 minutes before you cut it. That's gonna help slow the gases that come out from the onion to help you from not crying like I am now. All right, that looks good, and my eyes, woo, are feeling it. So I'm gonna get this on here, wipe off my hands. All right, woo. That's a little bit better. Okay, now I'm gonna get, actually I'll just use this spoon that I used in the cranberries. All right, I'm gonna stir this nice and mix it all up. So I've got my avocado oil, I've got the white wine vinegar, I've got the orange juice, I've got the oranges, I have celery, and onion, and then last but not least, we're gonna add in that chicken. Ooh. I should have used my trick. All right, and I'm just gonna make sure that that marinade gets on top of this chicken breast. All right, so this marinade is actually going to set for about 15 minutes to get it nice and really good and get that flavor really robust in that. In the meantime, I want you to set your ovens to 425 degrees Fahrenheit, and then I'll see you back as soon as this is marinated for 15 minutes. All right, guys, just to recap where we are in our recipe, our marinade has set it now for 15 minutes. It's got a great little mixture, great smell to it with those oranges. Our oven is at 425 degrees Fahrenheit, ready to go for it to all go in. And I have put a tablespoon of avocado oil in my grilling pan here, and I've kind of rolled it around so it covers, and it's been heating. So now the oven, or excuse me, the grilling pan is heated and ready to go. So I'm gonna take my tongs here and I'm going to grab the chicken breast out of the mixture. We are going to sear these for about 2 minutes on each side. So I didn't quite hear that sizzle that I wanted to hear, so I went ahead and I upped my temperature, oh I can hear it now, to high, so I can get that hotness that I was looking for. We're gonna sear both sides. It's gonna be about 2 minutes on each side. Now the reason why searing method used to be so big is because they thought that it was holding the moisture into whatever you were searing, right? But that's since been debunked, and it really doesn't do that, but it really gives us that nice, almost like a crust kind of feel when we're consuming whatever that dish is. So like I said, I'm gonna let this cook for about 2 minutes on each side. So I'm gonna kind of keep my eye on that. In the meantime, I'm going to take a baking dish, like so. This is a 9.5 by 11. I've already greased this one and got it ready to go. And I'm gonna put this full marinade mixture, liquid and all, into this baking dish. We're gonna use that whole thing when we're cooking this. So I'm just going to go ahead and spread it out in the baking dish. All right, so that's ready to go. Then I'm gonna go ahead and add our cranberry mixture to that baking dish. Making sure to get all that sugar that's stuck to the bottom of the bowl. Get this nice and combined, mixed up. I gotta say, guys, I love color. When it comes to our dishes, I want lots and lots of color. And boy, this dish has some color. Love it. All right, starting to smell this. It's really coming to life now, that paprika smell. I'm gonna go ahead and give these a nice little flip. And then I'm gonna let this go ahead and sear on the other side for about 2 minutes as well. So while we're doing that, I'm going to show you our next thing, and the last thing we're gonna add to this is going to be our chicken stock. So with chicken stock, sodium is something that we're concerned about, right? So I buy the Hy-Vee no salt added chicken stock. I'm sure they have other varieties as well, but this only has 45 milligrams of sodium per serving, where the other ones, I think the reduced sodium was around 570 milligrams of sodium, and then the just regular one was 860 milligrams of sodium for the same portion. So huge difference on cutting down on your sodium intake, which obviously as a dietitian I'm always looking for overall health. So all right, these are good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off and take this off of the hot portion of my stove here, and I'm gonna nuzzle these chicken breasts into my baking sheet in between all the mixture that I've put in there. This looks so pretty. I feel like with the holidays too, presentation is a huge part of it. So, all right. And then for the chicken stock, you only need a half a cup. So I'm just gonna pour that around the edges of this dish. Basically, it's just gonna help hold that moisture. And then I'm going to put this in our oven. This is going to bake for 25 to 35 minutes. So 25, 35 minutes. And I think next, let's go ahead and get started on our side dish, that roasted balsamic Brussels sprouts. While our chicken is cooking, we are gonna go ahead and get started with that side dish, that balsamic roasted Brussels sprout. So go ahead, if you have the option, like mine, where you have a double oven temperature, you can go ahead and get that second oven set to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. If not, don't worry, you could also cook this at 425. You just might not need to go that full 10 minutes each time we put it in the oven. So for this recipe, what you're gonna need, we've got some avocado oil again, we've got some prosciutto, we've got some dried cranberries, we've got some lemon juice, some Dijon mustard, that's the stone ground Dijon mustard, as well as some honey. And then we have, of course, Brussels sprouts, some salt and pepper. We chose to do some Jazz apples today. And then your aged balsamic vinegar too. So to get this started, like I said, make sure you get your oven going if you have that option to do the 2 different settings. We're gonna go ahead and get our baking dish greased and ready to go, which I've already done. So I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting up our Brussels sprouts. So for the Brussels sprouts, you're gonna need about a pound. I have about, pound and 3/4 probably sitting there just to give you a little bit of an eyeball and what that looks like. All I'm doing is I'm cutting off the stem portion of that Brussels sprout, and then I'm halving it, and then I'm quartering it. So that's what I'm doing here. Brussels sprouts are gonna fall into that cruciferous vegetable option, which is really great because it's got a lot of fiber, lots of nutrients, but fiber is one of the ones that stands out to me, which is gonna help you manage your diabetes. It's gonna help manage weight, just really ultimately covering that blood sugar control over a longer span of time, making sure that it doesn't have those peaks and valleys. But also is going to be good for reducing your risk for skin cancer and damage to your skin ultimately too. So just a really great option for you to add to your diet. You know, Brussels sprouts have become pretty popular in the last couple years. One of those that I feel like a lot of people have been playing around with roasting them. When you cut these up, sometimes you'll get like the little leaves. Go ahead and hold on to those. I feel like one of the reasons why Brussels sprouts are so popular is because of that crispiness, getting it really nice and crisp, which several really enjoy that texture, which I think just kind of changes up vegetables and the way we look at those ultimately. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a few more of these. Now you wanna make sure you can lay this out flat. Try to not have them doubled up. So if you wanted to do a larger portion of this, you'd maybe do it on a couple different, like sheet pans would work well to make sure that you can have it nice and flat, where they're not doubling up on each other, so they can get that really good roasted texture that you're looking for. Okay, I'm gonna look at this. This looks good to me. So I did about a pound of those, and then what we're gonna do on top of that is we're gonna use that avocado oil again, because we're doing it at a higher temperature. It's got a higher smoke point. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw that in. You're gonna do about, say about 2 to 4 tablespoons, just really depending on yourself and what you're looking for. I'm gonna do some fresh ground pepper over the top of this. And then the same thing with some salt. Again, salt substitutes, or you can leave the salt out altogether if you are trying to reduce that sodium intake. I'm gonna get this nice and mixed up. Make sure that that oil gets mixed on all the Brussels sprouts to get that really good flavor and texture that you are looking for. Last but not least, we're gonna add in some fresh prosciutto. I've just torn these. Recipe called for about 3 ounces. It's going to shrink quite a bit when it's in the oven, when it cooks down. So it might look like a lot up front, but it's gonna really deliver this nice crunch. So it's gonna be a really nice textural difference. So got this ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the oven. It's gonna go in the oven for 10 minutes. So we're gonna let that go ahead and cook for 10 minutes. I've set my timer so I make sure I don't lose track of time, which is easy to do in the kitchen. And we're gonna go ahead and move on to our apples. So when I'm in the kitchen, you can tell that I kind of like to set things aside and try to keep my workstation as clean as possible. It really does help in terms of, you know, making sure you don't forget something and just keeping things clean and tidy ultimately. So we're gonna do our Jazz apples. So got this fun little apple cutting tool that you can use. You don't have to use this. You can use just a standard knife, of course, to core your apple, but just kind of something fun to do here. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these all pulled out of here. All right. As you can see, there you go. The core is out. Then I'm gonna do 4 apples today. So 4 apples. I'll do one more through this, and then I'll cut one standard too. So this one is going to be a little bit more difficult to use that tool because it's not as even. That's the one downside of using these fun tools, is if it lays really nice on the cutting board, makes it a lot easier. If it doesn't, then it can make things a little dangerous too. So, all right, I poured 2 apples that way. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna slice these into chunks. Trying to get them somewhat even so they are cooking texturally the same. This is something that's really fun for kids if they don't usually get cooked apples and they like apples. This is something fun for my family to have apples cooked, just something different. So I'm gonna cut these up. And then I'm gonna go on to my other 2. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these set to the side because these are gonna go in with the Brussels sprouts after that 10 minutes is up. So one of the things I talk with my patients about on a very regular basis is getting a protein and 2 colors on their plate. It is so important to get your fruits and vegetables in. Your fruits and vegetables are supposed to take half of your plate. typically that's not happening like we said earlier. So I like to use this protein and 2 colors method because I feel like it's an easy way to just ensure that you're getting multiple colors on your plate, which then in turn gets more fruits and vegetables. I don't say you have to have a serving for both colors, but just to have 2 colors on your plate. So this would fall right into that with the Brussels sprouts being green, apples being red. You're gonna have both a fruit and a vegetable, and you're gonna have 2 colors. Now, I also tell them that they can have 2 fruits or 2 vegetables. Doesn't have to be a fruit and a vegetable. Fun fact, only 1 in 10 Americans meet the recommended guidelines for fruits and vegetables a day. 1 in 10. That's from the American Heart Association. So we are supposed to be consuming 5 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. So think about that. How many servings are you getting in? I mean, 5 to 9 is hard. 5 is probably definitely easier. Not everybody needs 9, so obviously it depends on your needs personally. That's quite a bit of fruits and vegetables. So this is really going to help us make sure we're getting half of our plate, fruits and vegetables, and making sure we're getting those 2 colors in. Oops, runaway apple. That happens too. All right, so those are all sliced up and ready to go. Apples, again, gonna fill us full of fiber, which is ultimately gonna help us keep full too. All right, while we're waiting on the oven to hit that 10-minute mark, we're gonna go ahead and start making the dressing for this. So there's a little bit of a dressing. This is gonna go at the very end after it's cooked completely. We're gonna go ahead and mix that up. So first what you're gonna do is you're gonna put your tablespoon of honey. There is 1 tablespoon honey, 1 teaspoon of lemon juice, and then 1/2 teaspoon of stone ground mustard. So we're just gonna put that all in here in this bowl. Trying to get all that honey that gets stuck to the bottom there out of there. So give it that nice sweet flavor. And then we're gonna mix in 2 tablespoons of aged balsamic vinegar. You can tell with the aged balsamic vinegar too, it's gonna be a little bit thicker than your regular balsamic vinegar. I'd say between like a regular balsamic vinegar and like a honey. It's probably what you're looking at texturally. All right, and then got that. I'm gonna go ahead and get this whisk together. Putting that nice and combined. And last but not least, I'm gonna add in 2 tablespoons of avocado oil. And you can see this is kind of like a thicker dressing, which is great because it's gonna coat all of the apples and the Brussels sprouts and really make it like a very flavorful, robust flavor, not make it fall off of those Brussels sprouts and the apples, since this is not gonna technically be cooked with them. So I will see you back as soon as our 10 minutes is up with our first pan of Brussels sprouts, the Brussels sprouts with the prosciutto, the avocado oil, and salt and pepper. All right, our first 10 minutes is up. Our Brussels sprouts and our prosciutto is done in here. So we're gonna go ahead and add these diced apples that we just prepared. Put that to the side, and I'm gonna get this nice and mixed up with the Brussels sprouts and the prosciutto. So it's just really well combined. And then I'm gonna put this back in the oven for another 10 minutes. Now, if you like your Brussels sprouts really crispy, you can go even longer than that. I'd say up to about an additional 20 minutes. I'll see you back in 10 minutes. So our Brussels sprouts are out of the oven. I actually ended up going ahead and doing an additional 10 minutes. So I did 30 minutes. The recipe said 20, so really just depends on the texture that you're looking for. I like mine to be a little bit more crispy. So next we are gonna go ahead and add that balsamic dressing that we put together earlier. So I've just whisked this up again just to make sure it is nice and well combined. Just gonna put that all in there. And then you can put about 1/4 cup of dried cranberries. This is just gonna be to add some color, maybe a little bit more, and some textural differences. And then I'm gonna go ahead and give this a nice, good stir. And then it's ready to serve immediately. So I've got my cranberry orange rosemary chicken here. And I'm going to go ahead and fill half of our plate. Notice I'm using a salad plate with this mixture, and it would be good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and bring this closer so you guys can see this. All that wonderful colors, which is great for our health in terms of making sure that we are getting plenty of fruits and vegetables and making sure that we are eating the rainbow and that variety of color. So thank you so much for joining me for these healthier holiday recipes. Hy-Vee Dietitians here to make your lives easier, healthier, and happier.